Endpoint security is designed to protect every device in your fleet, wherever it may be. These days, that can be a lot of different places. Find out how HP Wolf Security uses emerging strategies like application isolation, along with a zero-trust approach and framework to give you a powerful, manageable, usable solution to your growing and increasingly spread-out security challenges. Learn how HP Wolf Security can make a difference across your endpoints at securityweekly.com/HP Wolf. Attacks can't be prevented, but they can be stopped. Modern cyber attackers have already made it inside your network, but you have the upper hand. Find and eradicate threats with ExtraHop network detection and response, and shut them out before real damage is done. Learn the advanced techniques attackers are using and how ExtraHop stops them with a live attack simulation. Register at securityweekly.com/ExtraHop. That's extra HOP.
Welcome back to Enterprise Security Weekly. Do you have a specific guest or topic that you want us to cover on one of the shows? Submit your suggestions for guests by visiting securityweekly.com/guests and completing the form. We review these suggestions monthly and we'll reach out to you once reviewed. All right, for our interview today, Brian Peterson joins us to talk about helping companies better manage industrial cyber incidents. Mr. Peterson has 30 years of cybersecurity experience in IT systems, application SCADA systems, such as those used in oil and gas and manufacturing sectors. And in the last 20 years, he's concentrated on building cybersecurity programs, incident management capabilities, and other processes related to security. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Great. Thank you, Adrian.
Yeah, so it's quite a background. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen some things in both the IT and security side. Having that kind of breadth of history to bring to it.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I spent 31 years working for oil company, and I continue to work with them as a contractor. But yeah, it's been very interesting. I've traveled to 60 countries in the world doing various cybersecurity and compliance consulting work and operations. It's been a lot of fun.
So, I'm curious to get your opinion on where having, been able to zoom out over all that time, especially in a field that we typically think of as being kind of behind the ball in some ways with security, just because the technology in that sector doesn't change out and move at the same pace as other sectors. So I'm curious what your view is, like how things are moving, like if particularly the ICS, SCADA, the industrial side of things, if they're keeping up or if they've got a long way to go. Like what's your general outlook, I think, for that industry?
Yeah, I think it's great. So the oil and gas industry started a consortium called Logic, which is linking the oil and gas industry to improve cybersecurity, along with partnering with DHS, the Science and Technology Directorate. 15 years ago, we were the first public-private partnership, and very successful. So we still do that today. I still work for that consortium. And the oil and gas companies are investing heavily in cybersecurity, particularly as it pertains to industrial control systems. They're very high risk kind of applications that could cause a lot of risks and problems to the environments we work in, safety, health. And so they have invested and they continue to invest. And we work on some very interesting cutting edge cybersecurity projects, which ultimately the members take back to their companies and they deploy those solutions.
Yeah. So, okay. So for a while, it sounds like you may even have a leg up over other industries, at least in organizing and planning this stuff out. So the, ICS for ICS, it sounds like this is a program managed by someone. It's not a company that you work for. And the acronym, you've got two different ICSs, which is kind of clever for the people listening. It's ICS, the number 4, and then ICS. And it looks like the first ICS stands for Incident Command System. And then the second ICS is the one we're more familiar with, right? The Industrial Control Systems.
Yeah. 2 years ago, Megan Sanford from Schneider thought up this idea and presented at S4. We're doing a exercise this year, April 18th, which is free at S4 on ICS for ICS. And so ISA GCA, the Global Cybersecurity Alliance, which is led by Andre Ristano, picked up the ball, and Megan's still heavily involved to ensure that the program gets care and feeding. We have lots of volunteers. We have 1,000 people on our distribution list, and probably a few hundred of them actually participate in shaping the whole program. And so the program is really designed to ensure that companies are ready to deal with the cybersecurity threats that are going to impact their operations. Industrial control systems are used to support various aspects of our daily life and the security of our country. So, the stoplights, the trains, your electricity in your house, water, all of these things rely on industrial control systems. So the ICS for ICS is designed to ensure that companies can quickly respond to an incident that would disrupt their operations. And potentially in the future, we could see disruption across an entire region or even across the globe. We all use a lot of the same systems as you have discussed in previous of your conversations, and that means they're all vulnerable. And so we're trying to put together a program. DHS CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, is involved heavily with this and has been involved from the beginning. We've used a lot of materials from FEMA. So we're working closely with the U.S. government, and our 1,000 volunteers around the world are engaging their equivalent government agencies to also get involved. So we're going to be doing exercises throughout the world after our exercise on April 18th. And we hope to get people to develop the capabilities in their companies so they can quickly respond and resolve the issue and get our critical infrastructure working again.
Yeah. And I think that's something that companies in general need to do more. Is putting on actual simulations and practicing some of these tools and techniques and their workbooks for both responding and recovering. Now this you mentioned S4, which this is not my world. I don't know the ICS SCADA world terribly well. But I do have some friends there, and I've heard them say a lot of good things about S4. And I understand it's I don't know if it's the biggest conference of that kind in that part of the industry, but it happens in Florida every year. Is that correct?
Yes, it does. Normally, it didn't happen last year because of the pandemic, but yeah, it's very successful, widely attended. Representation by everyone around the world comes to this conference who's involved in industrial control system cybersecurity. It's a great conference, and so we're hosting an exercise, 3-hour exercise on the Monday preceding the event, and have quite a few people attending.
And the results of that event, is that going to be public? Is that going to be shared publicly, or just with members of the ICS for ICS program?
Yeah, everything we do is free. And so we're going to record. We have 2 video guys coming recording the exercise, and we're going to publish it by May 1st. All the materials that we've developed, which are based on FEMA and DHS's materials, are being published on our website in the next couple of weeks. So we're trying to get the word out, and everything's free. We're trying to help people begin to use these processes to improve their response to disruptions to critical infrastructure.
So help me understand this framework. The first ICS in the name there, the ICS for ICS name, the Incident Command System. I understand it's not something that was specifically built for responding to cybersecurity incidents, but maybe for incidents in general. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was actually developed in the 1970s, and it was developed in response to major fires that happened in the U.S., and many lives were lost, as well as a poor response. So they realized, as we also realized in cybersecurity incidents, that the major root cause of our failure in responding is that we're not managing ourselves well. And so this was developed. It's widely used by industries throughout the world. It's a perfect fit for industrial control system audience. So what we're doing is we're bringing together this incident command system people who already exist inside the company, along with the cybersecurity people who do computer incident response kind of activities, and combining them with the expertise of our industrial control system staff into one cohesive process so they can all work together to quickly respond and solve problems
And I'm curious. Do you think this would work outside of the ICS space? This framework, this approach to it.
Absolutely, yeah. So when we look at Colonial Pipeline, they really did not have an industrial control system problem. They had an enterprise IT problem. But the root cause of their failure to respond was a failure in managing themselves. Interestingly enough, they already had an incident command system. It works, and they just didn't use it for cybersecurity incidents. So what we're trying to do is to get people to use incident command to manage cybersecurity incidents, specifically for industrial applications, but it could really be used for anything, even if it was an enterprise IT, like in the Colonial case.
I think it's often easy to forget that a lot of the problems that we encounter in cybersecurity don't necessarily need to have cybersecurity specific solutions, right? Like in this case, it looks like this incident command system framework worked. Like maybe you have to tweak it for cybersecurity, but you don't have to start from scratch. Other people have solved similar problems, especially given that you described the reason for this framework being created. You said we're not managing ourselves very well. So I'd like to dive a little deeper into that comment. So does that have to do with communication or the management of people and resources? What specifically were we not managing well that this helped fix?
All of the above. So I'll tell you, I'm an older man. 40 years ago, I used to be an operator in a data center back in the mainframe days, and we'd have a major problem. And I'd be sitting in front of a console, and 30 people would be standing behind me, yelling out orders: enter this, do that, do that, right? And that's what happens today. Is we have not a cohesive approach. And so what the incident command system brings to this is we have an organized decisions being made and executed. We don't have people just knee-jerk reaction. When you do that, you don't solve problems. You have to have well thought out solutions. And as you said, there's a lot of solutions out there, a lot of partners that we can use, mutual aid, as well as paid partners who can help us quickly solve problems. But you have to put those agreements in place in advance. And that's what ICS for ICS is designed to do, is ensure we have all the right players identified, contracts in place, and that we practice. It all comes down to practice, practice, practice.
I love to hear you say that, because I've been saying something similar for a while. I equate it to sports. Like I was a PCI QSA, and I was a chief incident handler for a big chunk of my career. And oftentimes I go into these places as auditing for PCI, and what they're trying to pass off as their required annual incident response test is just so weak. Man, if you guys actually have an incident, everybody's just going to be running around like chickens with their heads cut off. They're not going to be, I think more than anything, what it gives you is kind of that emotional calm that you need. Some people have it come by it naturally, but nobody wants to reach for a 90-page incident response plan during the incident, right? Right.
You either practice and you know and understand what your role is. You understand what your supervisor is and who's making what decisions and how the processes work. The plan isn't actually going to be used during an actual incident, as you pointed out. You're not pulling out, and you say 90 pages. I've seen 450-page documents. And the person who developed them thinks you're going to pull those documents out. Not a chance in the world. There's some simple forms which come with the incident command system that allow us to fill out data, and we know who's filling out what section and who's making what decisions. That's the beauty of this, is you get action to an execution of your response quickly, because you know who's in charge, you know what your role is, and you're right. You either know or you're not. Your plan's worthless.
So let's zoom back out a little bit and talk more about the mission of the group, and I guess maybe also the future of the group, because it sounds like part of your mission is to help people prepare, but also it sounds like you're prepared to help them in real time with a response.
We assume that that the people will develop their capabilities and they'll develop mutual aid that makes sense for them. So we've got 1,000 people on our distribution list. Almost every industrial country has numerous people who are participating. And so they're really going to have to develop their capabilities. So we're doing this thing in Miami with S4. It'll be great. We'll have a video. Then we're going to move on to Australia, New Zealand. We've got Mexico lined up. We've got several people lined up to do their own exercise. And we're going to have to customize the materials a bit to match, right? So in Australia, they have an equivalent of DHS CISA, but it's not the US they're going to refer to. So they'll make their own plan and we'll make some modifications. Same in Mexico, we'll have to translate to Spanish. So we're helping, we're facilitating, but ultimately they all need to do the work to make it work for their specific country, language and local government interactions, local business partners, all that has to be baked into the process so that it's successful. I'm not going to do them any good from the US. If they have a problem in the US, we're a big country. I'm probably not going to do a whole lot of good unless it happens in my little small town, and that's not very unlikely.
Right. Yeah, coincidentally, that world tour, that list of places you mentioned, is basically my bucket list of places to take vacation to. So maybe I need to. Let me know if you need some help on that world tour.
They're all fabulous countries. I've been to all of them, and they're beautiful places to visit.
Katie, did you have a question?
I did have a couple questions. The first one is related to going to some of those wonderful places and, of course, the conferences. How do people get involved? Where do they find information? Some people might be afraid to join a new organization or test out a new thing. So what would people do to get involved, to learn more?
Sure, that's a great question. So we provided the links. I think Adrian has them. There's a link that shares information about ICS for ICS, the activities we're doing, how you can take the training, you can get credentialed, how you can volunteer to host an exercise in your country or industry sector. It has a lot of information out there that allows you to just look, and you can just sign up for the newsletter. So once a month you get a newsletter that tells you what's happening, what we're doing, and what the future of the program looks like. So we're just trying to share with people. Ultimately, the actual people who do the work are the best people. And we've got sponsors in almost every country at this point who are going to put together and customize the process and host exercises. So we've got a lot of local boots on the ground all over the world.
Are there any requirements for getting involved? Do you have to have a certain job title, work at a certain type of company? Obviously, it has to be in ICS, but aside from that, any requirements that people should be aware of?
No requirements at all. We have a very mixed group of people. We have people that are industrial control systems people, a lot of them. We have cybersecurity people, and we also, of course, have some incident command staff. But anybody can join, some people from management. Anybody who wants to get on the list gets on the list, basically, and we'll share, and they're welcome to participate in shaping the future of the program, or they're welcome to just passively watch what's going on. Potentially they'll, get an exercise somewhere near where they're located and potentially could go. The exercise is really, the proof is in the pudding. We can put all the documents out there, and we've got training, and we've got a workshop online that you can go look at. But at the end of the day, the exercise really helps you understand the value of the program.
That's really important, that anybody can get involved, and especially right now, as we're looking at potential increased activity against critical infrastructure. Are there any things that you're particularly concerned about right now as we're entering a really tense world situation? And we've seen in Ukraine in particular some attacks against their critical infrastructure. So does that change how you would approach any guidance, or is it more of a stay the course, laying the foundations?
We're staying the course, but we think that we're a big part of the solution. So DHS CISA yesterday sent out emails to coordinators throughout the critical infrastructure industries in the United States. I'm sure other countries did the same thing. So oil companies were contacted, electrical, wastewater, water, all those people got an email, and they had a handful of things they said you need to be getting yourself ready for, because it's very likely if we do have escalation that we'll be under attack. The United States and most of the industrial world, anybody who boycotts a nation who is aggressive will be attacked. And they have great capability. So one of those handful of things they're telling you to do is check your incident command system processes, make sure you're ready to respond if you are attacked. So ICS for ICS is probably the solution for most industry companies.
Great, thank you.
Amazing stuff, Brian. And yes, we did come prepared with all the links. If you look at the show notes for today, securityweekly.com/ESW262, you will find those links to ICS for ICS, both the call for volunteers and the general website. And I also threw them out in our Discord channel, the same two links. So, yes, Brian, thanks so much for joining us on Enterprise Security Weekly today. I'm really interested to see the results of the April 18th test, and maybe we can have you back on to discuss the results.
That would be great. I look forward to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll be right back in a few moments with the weekly Enterprise News.